Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including why waiting to buy may be smart, leaked Cybertruck specs, the state of the US EV battery market, and more, so let's get into it. First up today, one of the main things that EV owners know about when it comes to EVs is incentives. In the right situation, country, or state, incentives could be what take an EV from being an expensive luxury to the car that makes more sense than any other for you. But a new study this week has shown that 40% of Americans are completely unaware that a $7,500 federal tax credit even exists for EVs. The Federal Clean Vehicle Tax Credit was introduced as part of the Inflation Reduction Act last year, and it has really had a big impact on the future of EVs. Companies need to source their batteries in certain ways and assemble their cars in North America in order for them to qualify. On top of that, this tax credit is changing to become a point of sale credit in 2024. That means you'll be able to take $7,500 off the purchase price of the vehicle up front, which should mark a pretty great savings over the current system. Still, according to Blue Labs, 22% of Americans polled said they had heard a great deal or a good amount about the federal clean vehicle credit. On the other side of things, 40% said they had no clue about it. This data comes from a mixed pool of 2,422 adults surveyed between August 22nd and 30th. That's a reasonable pool, but of course doesn't tell the whole story. In any case, it's a good pointer as to why Tesla advertising could be a great thing. 40% of those polled had no idea about this credit, and that could very well include plenty of customers who would love an EV. When I search EV tax credit on Google, I now get served an ad from Tesla detailing the $7,500 tax credit available for the Model Y built in America, so hopefully this can raise some awareness on their side. Misconceptions and lack of available knowledge like this seems to be one of the biggest hurdles for EV adoption, especially in the United States. So I think Tesla could do a lot here with particular advertising. Next up today, as we approach the end of the year, it's raising the regular question of, do I wait to buy a Tesla or buy now? With this comes a lot of factors, so let's dive right in. First, let's look on the product side of things. If you're looking to buy a Model 3, Tesla has already refreshed that car out of Giga Shanghai. The latest rumors say it should come to the US in early 2024, so if you like the upgrades this car has brought to those markets, it may be a good idea to wait to buy. The new version of that car is right around the corner, and based on reviews, it brings tons of improvements even beyond that you can see detailed on Tesla's website in markets where it's on sale. For the Model Y, we do expect a slight refresh to come around the time of that new Model 3, bringing a couple small changes they now ship in China, like updated hubcaps and an LED light strip across the dash. But the real Juniper upgrade, taking the stuff from the new Model 3 and putting it into the Model Y, may still be a ways off. The latest rumors say late 2024. So if you're ready to buy a car today, this will likely be too long of a wait. However, if you're patient, it could be worthwhile. On the other side of things is the tax credit, and in some ways, this makes waiting until 2024 seem like the best option. Big upgrades are coming to these cars, and the tax credit is going to get much more accessible. Starting in January of 2024, eligible buyers will be able to transfer their $7,500 tax credit to the dealer, resulting in a lower point of sale price. Until now, the tax credit was something that wasn't seen until the following tax season, but now it will come off of your purchase price. In practice, this should save people a decent amount of money because interest rates for vehicle loans are at all-time highs. A 72-month Tesla loan is now at a 6.69% interest rate. For many customers, they likely have to fund that $7,500 and pay interest on it, costing them quite a bit more in the long run. Come 2024, though, the vehicle purchase will be $7,500 less, requiring less to be financed from the start. This was calculated by J.D. Power with a VW ID4, showing that a model bought in September would cost $51,584, including the transaction price and 5 years of interest. Instead, if bought in January of 2024, it would be $43,156, including the transaction price and 5 years of interest. That's a big difference over the long haul, and it could make waiting to buy pay off a ton. Of course, there are tons of factors here, including if you qualify for the tax credit and all the complications of timing there. But even if Tesla raised pricing for their refreshed models, it looks like it could be cheaper. At the same time as well, experts are predicting that we may soon see an EV plosion, an explosion of EV options on the market with tax credits and overall options and supply driving prices down. With more options out there to choose from, this could continue driving Tesla's prices down in response. Even if new entry cars at lower prices aren't profitable for those companies yet, they still do pose a challenge to Tesla, who has to scale up and has room to drop prices and remain profitable. This all makes it look like waiting until 2024 to buy a Model 3 or Y is going to be the best option, but there is one caveat. While this tax credit is becoming easier to get and should save you money, the requirements on the battery side get stricter. Tesla sources their batteries and minerals from many different places, so they do warn that come 2024, the tax credits may be reduced. Or at least the way that they word it is that for 2023, you're guaranteed the $7,500 credit if you qualify. For the Model 3, they warn $7,500 tax credit expected to reduce to $3,750 on December 31st, pending federal guidance. Take delivery to guarantee full incentive. It seems they are a little more confident that this credit will have on the Model 3, but for the Model Y, they are less sure, simply saying take delivery by December 31st for full $7,500 tax credit. Essentially, they can only guarantee it's available in 2023, and guidance will confirm whether or not it is lowered next year. That also happens to be a good sales incentive for Q4 deliveries at the same time. So this could lead to a situation where it's a point of sale tax credit, but it's only $3,750 off. For some buyers, that reduced credit becoming available at the point of sale on an upgraded Model 3 or Y would still be very much worth the wait. For myself, it would be, but it's a consideration here for sure, and nothing with Tesla is ever definitive. Tax credits are also complicated, and we're not in 2024 yet, so we don't know exactly what this process is going to look like of a point of sale tax credit being transferred to a dealer. It could be complicated. Next up today, the latest for the Cybertruck, including tons of confirmed specs. First, the matte black Cybertruck was finally spotted prior to its release, which means Tesla officially wrapped this themselves. This one was spotted at a Cars and Coffee meetup in Santa Monica, and it was Tesla's chief designer Franz von Holzhausen himself bringing it along. I detailed this a bit in my last video too, but many people got videos and some great close-ups. Overall, it's a great look for this truck and one that many will opt for, but the quality of the wrap and quality of the build in this particular Cybertruck prototype leaves some to be desired. It's important to remember that these aren't production cars, but with less than 3 weeks to go until first deliveries, it does raise the question as to whether or not customer vehicles will have similar issues, at least initially. I'm personally expecting it. Either way, it looks pretty great cruising down what looks like PCH, and it really demonstrated the matte aspect of the wrap when parked next to an old Ferrari. Over in Alaska, the Cybertruck was spotted cruising and testing in the snow, which is good to see for winter EV testing, and it was similarly spotted next to a Model 3 in Colorado. Here it's being snowed on. Tesla has so many prototypes all over the place at this point that it's starting to seem a bit normal when in parking lots. Likely though, this will still be quite a shock when they start showing up in larger numbers after its launch. For trademarks, Tesla filed 2 related to the Cybertruck on November 3rd. Both refer directly to the Cybertruck and say automobiles, off-road vehicles, pickup trucks, electrically powered motor vehicles, and structural parts therefore. The first includes this simple logo, and the second includes the cyberpunk style logo that we've seen. We also know that this is going to be in the front trunk. As for specs, we had a huge leak this week, and one great feature has been confirmed. Reportedly, a screenshot of the Cybertruck spec sheet was sent to the folks at TFLEV. In their video, they start out by showing what the Cybertruck's outlet port looks like in the rear. Not only does it have 2 standard 120-volt outlets, but it also comes with a NEMA 1450 outlet that will support 240 volts. This will mark the first Tesla vehicle capable of charging another Tesla, or capable of running this much external power at all for that matter. This is initially very exciting to see, since Tesla is known to leave off certain features that many really want. At the same time, competing trucks do have more ports, like the Rivian R1T or Ford F-150 Lightning, but the NEMA 1450 may make up for all of that. The competing F-150 Lightning can output up to 9.6 kilowatts, whereas the 1450 plug should be able to output 12 kilowatts on the Cybertruck. Hopefully this will mean that we're finally able to do some bidirectional charging of your home on the Cybertruck. This is a feature that's becoming more common from competitors and makes a lot of sense with such a large battery pack just sitting there during a power outage. As for the rest of the specs, the overall dimensions are pretty similar to what we've known in the past. It will be 18.6 feet long, 79.9 inches wide without mirrors, and 70.5 inches high on the medium suspension setting. Likely this will be the all-purpose ride setting. This chart, posted on the Cybertruck Owners Club, compares these specs to other trucks well, with the Cybertruck sitting between trucks like the Maverick, R1T Tacoma, and larger ones like the Lightning or Ram 1500. The Cybertruck is significantly shorter in length and height than many trucks on the road, while providing a lot of the same functionality. That will likely be an appeal for many customers. Next up, the wheelbase is 143 inches, and the curb weight for the dual motor is 6,670 pounds. That's around 500 pounds lighter than certain Rivian R1Ts, and similar to certain F-150 Lightnings. For tri-motor, this increases a bit up to 6,890 pounds. One potentially disappointing rating is the tow rating at 11,000 pounds. This is an impressive towing capacity, but doesn't hold up to what Tesla originally announced 4 years ago. Tri-motor was supposed to tow up to 14,000 pounds, so if these specs are accurate in the first place, and then accurate to tri-motor as well, the Cybertruck can't tow as much as originally promised. I'm particularly curious then to see how range turns out, since they very likely will come in under the original 500 plus mile range promise. One thing to note with the difference in weight between dual and tri-motor is that they seem to have about the same battery pack. With such little weight difference, the change likely just comes exclusively in the motor, which doesn't look great for a 500-mile option. At the same time as well, I think Tesla is keeping range incredibly close to the chest and not planning to reveal that until November 30th, or maybe even later if they can. Spec sheets like this have been unveiled, and employees have even said that they can't find out the range by tapping on screen. It is locked to a percentage. Very likely the first time we'll hear about the Cybertruck's range will be from the EPA itself. But in an ideal world, maybe both dual and tri-motor will come with an impressive range on a battery pack. Next up, the max tongue is 1,110 pounds, bed length is 72.8 inches, or a bit over 6 feet long, and the bed width is 51 inches, or about 4¼ feet wide. The front trunk has a 7.1 cubic feet capacity and is able to hold 420 pounds itself. Coincidence? Inside headroom is listed at 41.6 inches up front and 39 inches in the rear. Legroom is 41 inches in the front and 40.9 inches in the rear. Shoulder room is 63 inches up front and 62 inches in the rear. And then hip room is 57.2 inches in the front and rear. You can't really know until you sit in a car or truck, but these specs should make this a pretty spacious truck. Overall, the most exciting thing to see here, in my opinion, is the NEMA 1450 outlet in the bed. We knew that something like this would likely come, but we never know for sure with Tesla. Hopefully we'll get final specs and confirmations come November 30th. I'm most curious to see what happens with range. Lastly, the Cybertruck was spotted towing a boat, which is a pretty good use case for towing. While it's not living up to its 14,000 pounds, if these leaks are accurate, it still might have most people's needs covered, as we can see in a photo like this. Next up today, there were some exciting feature updates for the new Highland Model 3 out of Giga Shanghai that now have come into question. As it is today, every Tesla model, besides the Model 3, comes equipped with a HEPA filtration system that enables bioweapon defense mode. It's a really impressive and great feature to have in a car, but the Model 3 simply has not had room as Tesla has made it. The hope was that with the refreshed Model 3 Project Highland, they'd finally find room for this filter, and a Tesla graphic in China appeared to confirm that it was finally coming to this car. A graphic posted by Tesla's China division looked as though it confirmed this, showing the updated Model 3 and advertising the HEPA filter that can take out 99.97% of particulate matter. This appeared to be full confirmation here, but upon further inspection, it seems this may unfortunately not be true. In Drive Tesla Canada's analysis, they detailed that this graphic simply mentions what HEPA filters do and has a Model 3 Highland in the background. Tesla never mentioned this upgrade, which would be a notable one, especially since they gave out review units initially, and if they added this now, it would be a big announcement. On top of this, the main display does not have the button for bioweapon defense mode, as does every other Tesla with this. Then Tesla has removed this post and replaced it with a Model Y, a car that does include this feature. For now, it seems the Model 3 will be the lone Tesla car to exclude this feature, which is too bad to see with such a large refresh happening now. Next up today, as the popularity of EVs grows, so does the global demand for batteries, and so far China has become the leader there. The United States has fallen way behind China in terms of battery production, and this isn't the best recipe for an electric future. In a letter to the Energy Department, 2 senators said the US is 10 to 20 years behind Asia in commercialization of battery technology. The purpose of this letter was to make the case that US EV battery production needs a boost to keep up with growing demand. Currently, China makes more than 75% of the world's battery cells, partly because they control a large portion of the minerals needed to produce them. For example, they're the world's top producer of graphite, which is used in basically all EV battery anodes. Recently, the US and Europe have taken steps to attempt to regain some control. In the US, that looks like tariffs adding an extra 25% for Chinese EVs on top of a 2.5% import tariff for vehicles. Additionally, we clearly see requirements laid out in the EV tax credit that get stricter for automakers to qualify. These require sourcing and battery production to come to the US in growing quantities as these cars scale up. But blocking Chinese EVs being sold in the US isn't going to be enough. US automakers are going to need a lot more local battery infrastructure in order to keep up with American EV demand. They go on to say in the letter that the US must become a leader in manufacturing batteries and battery components, while securing our supply chains for the materials that make up those components. In 2022, the US produced less than 10% of lithium-ion batteries, whereas China was at 70%. Global demand is expected to soar thanks to EVs, with an estimate of 4.7 terawatt hours required in 2030, up from 700 gigawatt hours in 2022. The tough thing here is China's lead. In order for the US to do any form of catching up, it's going to take a ton of work and it will require heavy investment internally at companies. Tesla has been expanding their 4680 cells made entirely in-house and plans to expand their Nevada factory, but they still rely on suppliers as well. More than ever, it seems like getting into the EV battery manufacturing business within the US is going to be necessary and pay off for those who do so. We'll definitely be seeing a blend of government investment here, but ultimately I won't be surprised to see Tesla lead in this area for a long time into the future. We'll have to see. Last up today, some updates from other automakers. It's been 6 months since Mercedes Maybach unveiled their first electric vehicle, the EQS 680 SUV, and they've officially unveiled its pricing. This car was unveiled with chrome and a lot of Maybach logos, but now has a sleeker, darker design. This is the top spec of the first all-electric SUV from an ultra-luxury sub-brand of Mercedes, so its price shouldn't come as too much of a surprise, $180,000. That price gets you dual motors that deliver an output of 84 kilowatts, 649 horsepower, and 700 pound-feet of torque. It'll have a 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds, a top speed of 130 miles per hour, a range of 373 miles, and 200 kilowatt fast charging. It has a slightly larger footprint than the Model X at 201.7 inches long, with about half as much cargo capacity. Of course, this car comes with a ton of luxury features, including Mercedes' signature air balance package that perfumes your car, but starting about $85,000 more than the Plaid Model X may be a hard sell for some. Some of the features that may make it worth it, though, are Napa leather upholstery and rear executive seats that are ventilated, heated, and include massagers. It also has a removable mini fridge and multiple rear entertainment displays. Then for $25,000 more, at $205,000, you can get even more features, including rear calf massagers. This definitely is a small niche vehicle and isn't a game changer for the market, but it's cool to see very cool luxury EVs. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see the AI features coming to Teslas in the future, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.